Now, our next speaker, right, has quite literally brought kings and queens to Yorkshire, okay? He held an event in Leeds a few weeks ago and had a panel of extraordinary people, and it would be my pleasure, my absolute pleasure, to welcome him to the stage this evening. Jason Barrett. Thank you so much. So, Londoner like me, so just be nice, all right? We can't help it.
How you doing, people? If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. Oh, come on, man. I'm used to happier people than this. If you're happy and you know it, make some noise. All right. So, first of all, it's very, very nice to be here. It's my first time to Huddersfield, even though I'm living in Leeds now. This is my first time venturing up to Huddersfield. And I just like the energy of Yorkshire, to be honest. I've been here for 3 years now, and I'm just enjoying the Yorkshire vibe. Does that make sense? It's just a really nice sense of community. Me and the master teacher, Robin Walker, was just speaking about the sense of community that's here that, in part, we've lost in London. And so I'm glad to see it alive and well in Yorkshire. So basically, just a little bit about myself. This is just a very brief introduction. I won't be before you very long. I'm a Black Studies teacher. I'm also a Black Studies student. I'm the student of the great Robin Walker, who is here. So obviously I'm quite nervous talking now. I've got to make sure all my dates are right if I start all of that. I'm also a filmmaker, so I've shot TV adverts, I've made music videos. I made a feature film in 2012 called The Naked Poet. I didn't bring any to sell with me today, I forgot. But it's available on Amazon, and it was interesting because there's one person here that's seen it, which was nice. 2, all right, there you go. And I've also created a graphic novel called Heru, the First Hero, and one of the areas that I study in is the importance of imagery and the importance of how we control our image in mainstream media. One of the biggest problems that we have is that the image of the black man and black woman has been co-opted and has been controlled by people outside of our groups. And when that's allowed to happen, people then can put their ideas of what you are like onto you. Does that make sense? And so it's very important to me, and it's very important that we control our imagery. Most of the time when we watch films and music videos about black people, it's violence, it's drugs, it's bitches and hoes. And we know that that's not what mainstream being black is about. Am I correct? But yet still, because our imagery is being controlled by outside forces, it's very important for us to then retaking control of our imagery. And that's basically why I created Heru. Because there's a scholar called Frantz Fanon who talks about it starting, the whole idea of low self-esteem starting with comic books, starting with films, starting with cartoons. Who remembers Asterix the Gaul? You remember those Asterix the Gaul, like the Herjo's Adventures of Tintin? Do you remember the image of the black people in those books? Big lips, leopard skin boxer shorts, carrying around white people on shields. And the interesting thing is, when I used to read those books, I used to be laughing at the black people in the books, not realizing I was laughing at myself. That's representing me. But at that particular moment in time, I was identifying as Asterix and Obelix. And so again, the importance of controlling our imagery, of us producing, we're in Black History Month. And interestingly, we look at history as the past. But when you actually look up the definition of history, it also talks about the present, because you make history in the present. Does that make sense? When Usain Bolt was running in China and was breaking the 100-meter world record, the commentator said, "This is history in the making." You make history in your present. And so it's important that we understand in our present the image that's being projected about us. And one of the sad commentaries is, as black people, our present history. Yes, we've done great things in Egypt. Yes, we've done great things in Ghana. Yes, we've done great things in Munamatapa, and we've done amazing things in the Kingdom of Mali. But in our present history, we are becoming a footnote of entertainers, rappers, sports personalities. And I was so glad when the master teacher was showing business people, was showing scientists, researchers, politicians. The reason being is that this imagery needs to be projected, that the next generation and those that are to come will pick up the mantle and will not just be MC such and such, but that they will be Lord so-and-so, they will be Doctor so-and-so, they will be Surgeon so-and-so, they will be Lady, Baron and Baroness so-and-so. It's so important that we control our imagery. And so we need to be filmmaking, we need to be producing content, we need to be producing graphic novels, we need to be producing comics, we need to be producing books. We are the biggest consumer group. We now need to be the biggest producer group. We cannot just be consuming. When Laura asked me to talk, and I'm coming down, she said, talk about unity. And so very quickly I'm going to quote from a scholar called Professor Harold Cruz. He wrote a book called Crisis of the Negro Intellectual, and in that book he said, individual power is predicated upon group power. In other words, if you want to be powerful as an individual, your group has to be powerful. We need to work together. We need greater unity. We need to support each other in business. We need to support each other in education. We need to support each other in political achievements and endeavors in order for us not to be a forgotten footnote in somebody else's history, but for us to continue to do great, amazing and powerful things within our own rights as black people in Britain. We're surrounded by some of these images are so powerful, they captivated me. But a lot of this history is being forgotten. A lot of this history, how many of you knew that the Windrush generation per capita owned more property than the indigenous whites and even the Jews of their time? How many of you knew that? Because somehow that's been rubbed out of the history books. The Jews owned more than us in commercial property, but residential, we were the property owners. And somehow that history has been lost. And if you notice, our children emulate what's gone before them. So everyone now wants to be the next Dizzy Rascal or the next Anthony Joshua, and there's nothing wrong with that. But if they knew that we were the property owners, how many of them will want to be the next property owners? But if that history is lost, then how can we aspire to it? History is not just our past, but it's our present, and ultimately then becomes our future. So we need to think about that when we're thinking about history. We need to think about where we've come from, and indeed we need to think about where we are now, and more importantly, where we're going to be tomorrow. That's my time. The comic book is called Heru, the first hero. I have some here. It's usually £12, it's £10 tonight. Please come and see me. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.